Fellow mariners, ladies and gentlemen who've taken time to join us here today, a very good morning to you all. On behalf of Chairman of the National Maritime Day Celebrations Committee, Chennai, the NMDCC, Chennai chapters of IMEI, CMMI, and Nautical Institute, it is my pleasure to welcome you to a webinar today on sustainable shipping for a sustainable planet. This is, of course, as you all know, the theme of the World Maritime Day this year, and we certainly hope to keep you interested with a very dynamic session lineup today. I'll begin by thanking you all for joining us today, some of you all at a very short notice, I'm aware. So quickly, I'd like to speak of a few rules of this online event, which I think by now everyone knows, but for sake of good order. So firstly, except for the speakers of panelists and I would like the audience to keep their mics muted, please. This is to avoid interference while speakers are speaking. So please keep your individual mics muted. Secondly, in the interest of a better resolution for this webinar, I will also request the audience to turn off their videos until we come, of course, to the panel discussion sessions, at which time people can switch them on. But this is primarily for the bandwidth reasons and to avoid distraction during a session. And lastly, we certainly do not wish to overextend the time frame we've committed for this event here today. So I will also be playing that distasteful role of the timekeeper for the webinar. I would like to apologize in advance to speakers and panelists in case I have to button, just so that we can stay on track. And that was that. I'm now handing over the button to Mr. Sanjeev Vakil. He is the Vice Chairman of NMDC Committee, Chennai, and of course, everybody knows HIMT. So for a quick introduction to this seminar, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dev. Thank you, Dev, for this quick intro. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Wishing you all a happy World Maritime Day. Generally, National Maritime Day Celebration Committee is involved in celebrating NMDC. That is on 5th of April, we do have a National Maritime Day every year. And also we have the last week of September, which the IMO declares we have a World Maritime Day. And traditionally, NMDC is generally celebrating it for years together. This year, basically, due to COVID, though we had planned few activities and we did start a few sessions on the NMDC part of it, we couldn't complete it. We had to suspend activities because of COVID. Nevertheless, I think we thank IMEI as well as Nautical Institute and CMI, who have traditionally been supporting NMDC as well to jointly organize this event. So today, this particular event is being under the aegis of NMDC, under the chairmanship of our principal officer, Shri Ajit Sukumaran. We have also the Deputy Shipping Master and the Shipping Master who are also a part of the NMDC committee, and all the surveyors and the staff of MMD. Under their aegis of NMDC, the support from IMEI, CMI, and Nautical Institute Chennai chapters have actively got involved, and we bring to you this particular day of just 1 hour and 15 minutes of session. So I welcome you all, and I just would like to welcome Shri Ajit Kumar Sukumaran, who is our chairman of this particular NMDC. Under his guidance, we have got together. Thank you, sir, for your constant guidance and having this session started, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sanjeev. And first of all, greetings of World Maritime Day on behalf of the Director General of Shipping and the National Maritime Day Celebration Committee to one and all from the shipping fraternity. First, let me tag you all to an old page of my memory lineup. Some 8 years back, precisely speaking, December 31st, 2012. When the entire world was in the mood of welcoming a new year in a festive mood, we at the DG Shipping were having an emergency meeting with single point agenda: how to reach food, water, and other basic amenities to around 200 seafarers stranded on 7 Indian ships, 2 in the scorching heat of Middle East, 2 in the freezing cold of China, 2 on the west coast of India, and 1 right here in Chennai, later led to a major maritime disaster. In the meeting, I still recollect the words of the chief executive of that company. I'm not saying how the things have happened or it's a different topic altogether. I just want to quote the words of that chief executive just for the purpose of this meeting. If I quote, "Sir, I don't have anything other than the dress I wear. You can take all my ships, all my entire assets, but provide support to our seafarers on the ship," unquote. That company at that point of time had almost 60% of the share of the coastal oil trade. I do not get into the details of how the company came to that stage, but the bottom line is that they could not sustain. A few months down the line, I also say a similar situation to a billion-dollar company, perhaps one of the prestigious Indian companies. The chief executive, perhaps one of the most dynamic ship owner I have ever seen in my time, almost telling on the same line. If I quote, "Sir, the lowest point of a ship owner is the day which he realizes that he doesn't have the money to pay his seafarers on board the ship." Mind you, that company at that time had almost the monopoly of LPG trade in India, but the company could not sustain. There were so many examples, even from the recent times. Last day, a few days back, we were reading the Carnival Cruise Line has given pink slip to over 7,000 of their employees. The bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, merchant ships are run for profit, not for charity, not for defense purpose. Unless it is commercially sustainable, it is not sustainable, as simple as that. But the problem before the shipping, the complexity before the shipping is that it has to not only ensure the commercial sustainability, but also its environmental sustainability, as well as the social sustainability. When we talk about the environmental sustainability, I'm sure Anil will be talking in detail about that. But I often felt that society has got an apathy or even a hypocrisy towards the shipping when it comes to environmental terms. We all talk about shipping is most environmental friendly mode of transport. It needs to be sustained and supported. But on the other hand, we see one of the most environmentally damaging industry or transport sector, the airline, till the time of COVID, was showing a phenomenal or a substantial growth where the shipping industry was going down day by day in the last 10 years. Even in shipping sector, if you talk about the pre-COVID days, the only sector which was growing was the cruise line ship. You know how efficient or how environmental friendly that sector is. But at the same time, there is another aspect of that also, the social sustainability. Just think about one of our largest container ship carrying around 24,000 containers, say moving from Antwerp to Kochi, say it is MSC Mina, proudly managed by say 2021 Indian seafarers. They will be bringing this 24,000 containers from Antwerp to Kochi, thousands of miles, just by 20 or 21 seafarers. But once you reach Kochi, from there to take it to Coimbatore, maybe it's just around 200 kilometers, you need 24,000 trucks. 24,000 trucks means 24 into average 4, almost a lakh direct employment. A lakh employment means 1 lakh families. 1 lakh families means around 4 to 5 lakh of direct voters per se. And in a democratic setup, where the vote bank politics invariably decides the prospects, I must say that it is not the efficiency of an industry, but the social reach of that industry which is going to decide its sustainability. And that is where the relevance of meeting like this, to build up the social awareness about one of the beautiful industries, one of the most efficient, most environmental mode of industry to the society, we should take it up. And if the society is not at large, and particularly its political leadership is not aware of the relevance and significance of a beautiful industry like this, it is we, those who are from the industry, to be blamed for us, for our failures to make them convince that, understand that, comprehend that. And I'm sure this kind of meetings and this kind of celebrations will be a helping hand towards that objective. And with that, may I welcome one and all of the shipping fraternity to this meeting and to the next 1 hour of session. I think it will be very fruitful towards the objectives of the celebrations. At the same time, I must put on record my thanks on behalf of the National Maritime Day Celebration Committee to the organizers of this beautiful event, the Institute of Marine Engineers, Company of Master Mariners, Nautical Institutes, and their office bearers. With this, once again, I welcome all of you to this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for the welcome address. Next, we will have a message from the Secretary General of IMO, Sri Kitta Klim, on the agenda.
The COVID-19 pandemic has affected all of us with unprecedented impacts on our lives, our economy, and our societies. At IMO, we have observed and attempted to address the impacts on the shipping industry and especially seafarers. In these challenging times, the ability of shipping services and the seafarers to deliver essential goods, including medical supplies, food, and fuel, is central to responding to and overcoming this crisis. The pandemic has shown that shipping, the most reliable, efficient, and cost-effective method of international transportation that carries more than 80% of global trade, remain the leading facilitator of global economy. Therefore, shipping and maritime will be at the heart of the economic recovery and future sustainable growth far into the future, both at the sea and ashore, supporting an inclusive and resilient economy to underpin the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable shipping for a sustainable planet. Our theme for 2020 couldn't be more relevant now and for years to come. In the post-COVID world, much focus will be directed at the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals adopted by all UN member states in 2015. These goals are as relevant as ever. Shipping is essential for sustainable development. The 2030 Agenda will only be realized with a sustainable transport sector supporting world trade and facilitating the global economy. But the shipping also needs to secure its own sustainability. Shipping activities must be balanced with the safety of life at sea, the long-term health and diversity of the oceans. A major part of IMO's role is to ensure that shipping continues to make its contribution to the global economy without upsetting nature's delicate balance. Supported by IMO's regulatory framework, shipping is engaged on a journey of transformation toward the sustainable future. IMO actions are: enhance maritime safety and digital shipping, ensure and enhance the professionalism, competence, and workplace environment of the world seafarers, decarbonization of international shipping and reduction of sulfur of ships' fuel oils, protect the polar regions and reduce marine litters, facilitation of maritime traffic in collaboration with the port industry, technical cooperation and capacity building of developing countries, enhance gender equality in the maritime community, and maintain a robust response system to meet threats to safety and security at the sea and protect the marine environment. All form the foundation for shipping's part in securing a sustainable future for all of us. We must now look to see what more should be done to achieve these goals. At the start of 2020, alongside our UN sister entities, we mark the beginning of a decade of action and delivery for the SDGs. In choosing sustainable shipping for a sustainable planet, as this year's World Maritime theme, we focus global attention on how IMO and the member states, civil societies, and the shipping industry are working together to ensure that shipping continues and strengthen its contribution toward sustainable growth. As the global pandemic has turned all our lives upside down, I have been encouraged by the unprecedented level of cooperation and collaboration in the maritime world. I have spoken many times of our voyage together, encompassing member states, NGOs, multiple maritime stakeholders. Though this year, the spirit of those words has been more important than ever. We need to capitalize on this willingness to work together as we move forward, supporting shipping, seafarers, and the maritime sector to fulfill their responsibilities. Thank you.
So that was a message by the Secretary General IMO, Kita Klim, on the theme for this year. Now I'll call Shri B. Jayakumar, Vice Chairman IMEI Chennai, to give an introduction on the keynote speaker today.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Shri Anil Kumar, Principal Surveyor and Area Business Development Manager, South Asia of Lloyd's Register Asia. Anil Kumar has been in the marine industry over 31 years in various capacities, currently in charge of South Asia Area Business Development for LR Marine and Offshore, focusing on technology, innovation, and providing core classification and consultancy services to ship owners, shipyards, navies, offshore firms across South Asia based at Chennai. Prior to his current role, he was Principal Surveyor and Marine Operation Manager in charge of Lloyd's Registers Business and Operation in East Coast India, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. Earlier to that, he was tasked with the role of Lloyd's Registers Operation Manager for Sri Lanka and Maldives based at Colombo. In 1997, he joined Lloyd's Register as surveyor and gained experience in performing marine periodical new construction, classification and statutory surveys, ISM and ISPS audits, MLC inspection, quality, environmental, occupational, health and safety, and energy management system audits at several postings in India and Sri Lanka. While working with Lloyd's Register, he has completed Lloyd's Register's Management Development Program at European Business School, UK. He graduated from Cochin University of Science and Technology and worked thereafter at Garden Ridge Shipbuilders and Engineers Limited, where he was involved in design and construction of ocean-going commercial and naval vessels. Anil is an active member of various professional institutions such as IMEI, IMRST, and RENA. He is currently chairman of IMEI Chennai branch. Over to you, Mr. Anil. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jay. First of all, good morning, everyone attending this forum. And on behalf of Lloyd's Register, I would like to thank the chairman of NMDC, Ajit Sukumaran, PO MMD, and Vice Chairman of NMDC, Sanjeev Vakil, Founder, CEO of HIMT, IMEI, Nautical Institute, and Company of Master Mariners for organizing this forum. Very interesting forum, and also giving me an opportunity to address you. The theme for, as you know, World Maritime Day celebration is Sustainable Shipping for Sustainable Planet. And you would know that in 2015, United Nations adopted Sustainable Development programs along with 17 Sustainable Development Goal, SDGs. And IMO and national administrations are in the process of working together to implement these sustainable development goals. Meantime, the shipping industry started transition towards the sustainable future. The industry recently implemented IMO sulfur 2020, 0.5% sulfur requirement globally. And now the industry is taking that urgent action towards the decarbonized future, sustainable future. So the industry is looking into 2020 and 2030 and beyond 2020 into 2030 and into 2050s. This is because of the IMO's greenhouse gas emission target 2050. The target is to make the shipping industry a zero carbon industry. The general shipping industry response for that has been positive so far. So what I would do is I would like to share my slide. I've got a few slides to share with you, and I'll also turn off my video to allow me some little more bandwidth. Here it goes. Jay, can you see my slide? Yeah.
Not yet, sir. No slides on the screen yet.
All right. Let me share that again. Yeah. Can you see now? Yeah.
Yes, we can see the slide now.
Excellent. Yeah.
You can enlarge that. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I've enlarged. Yeah. Moving on. What I wish to do is to elaborate by dwelling into the reason behind decarbonization, which is IMO's initial greenhouse gas strategy and IMO's GHG target for 2050 and shipping carbon intensity indicator. These are the reasons, and I would like to take you through, give you an overview rather, the decarbonization transition pathways as well as industry readiness toward decarbonizations. So there are a lot of text in this slide, so let me explain. And as you would know that in 2015, the Paris Climate Agreement, 196 countries has agreed upon to keep the increase in global temperature rise well below 2 degrees C and pursue effort to limit the increase to 1.5 degrees C. So in 2018, IMO's response to that UN agreement is this vision, which is reducing the greenhouse gas emission from international shipping as a matter of urgency and phase them out as soon as possible in this century. To translate this vision, IMO has come out with a strategy, which is a level of ambition. There are three elements to that. The first element is absolute reduction of greenhouse gas emission by 50% by 2050 compared to 2008 level, which is applicable to the world shipping fleet. And number 2 and number 3 are applicable to individual ship by ship. That's a reduction of carbon intensity, which is CO2 emission per ton miles, an average reduction in 2 different phases until 2030, and then 2050, 40% by 2030, 70% by 2050, and also strengthen the current energy efficiency design index, EEDI. As we know, EEDI started in 2013. We are currently in the phase 2, which is applicable to up to 2020 to 2025, which has been brought forward to 2023 for certain ship type. So to achieve this vision and level of ambitions, IMO has also come out with measures which are classified into, this is from MEPC 72, short-term measures, mid-term measures, and long-term measures, all the way up to 2030. So the national administrations are invited to submit their short-term, mid-term, and long-term measure to IMO MEPC towards achieving the IMO's greenhouse gas emission targets. So looking at the shipping industry is estimated to have contributed 2.3% of global shipping emission, which is roughly the size of Germany as a country. And the emission does not sound a lot, but if nothing is done, it will increase up to 10% by 2050, while all other industries decarbonizes. One of the way to decarbonize is to reduce energy efficiency, energy consumed on board the ship. That is by increasing the energy efficiency, by increase of the hull, machinery, and equipment on board the ship, and having innovative solution like air lubrication, flood rotor, propeller, fin cap, etc., and as well as operational measures like slow steaming, and which would be all right. Which would be all right until 2025. If you can mute them out. Somebody is speaking on the phone. Please mute the mic, please. This would be okay till 2025, and beyond which the technical and operational measures would be less and less prevalent, and the shipping industry need to shift to new fuel and zero emission vessel, said EVs need to enter into the industry by 2030. And there are also various carbon intensity indicators, as you can see on the screen, and mainly in two categories, the technical indicators and operational indicators. And these indicators have different drives and different potential to reduce the carbon intensity. The aim of IMO is to make the emission zero. Means all these indicators has got certain formula. The numerator is the CO2 emission. The aim of IMO is to make that emission zero. But it is important to measure the carbon intensity using these indicators to give us an idea of where the shipping industry is moving towards a decarbonized future. Please note these indicators are based on tank to wake, that means ship bunker tank to the funnel uptake. But to have sustainable decarbonization, we need to consider from well to wake, that's right from the exploration, from the upstream through the transportation to the midstream, and then usage on board the ship. As I said, the two type of indicators, technical indicators, EEDI, Energy Efficiency Design Index, which is the only statutory indicators as we speak. Rest of them are voluntary, and rest of them others are promoted by certain organizations. EEDI is the Energy Efficiency Design Index, CO2 emissions per ton cargo carried. The ship designers and shipyard are free to choose the technologies to satisfy the EEDI requirement per ship for ships built after 2013. EEXI, Energy Efficiency Existing Ship Indicator. In a sense, this is similar to EEDI, but applicable to all ship types, not just the one which built after 2013, which is proposed by Japan and Norway. EVDI, similar to EEXI again, not an IMO instrument. This is promoted by the shipwright, right ship rather, and right ship assign rating to the ship based on their EVDI ratings. There are operational indicators, EEOI, which is a management tool based on continuous improvement principle, and which is a voluntary IMO instrument, and ship emergency SEMP is based on ship energy efficiency management plan is based on this. And there are other indicators like AER, ISPI, EESH, FOR. These are all simplified version of EEOI, if I may put it. And AER can be calculated from data obtained from IMO DCS. ISPI and FOR are promoted by Japan and Germany, and ISPI the CO2 emission by distance sailed, and ESH is promoted by proposed by United States, which is CO2 emission by hours of vessel in services. So having said that, there's a question for you coming up. And Kirtan, Captain Subra will open up a polling to you soon. You will have the same questions on the polling, and so you may select your vote and then submit by pressing the submit button. This will be open up to you for 20 seconds. Yeah.
Poll is on. We have under 15 seconds. We have only 50 members who are polled. You just kindly poll across out of 256 members, please. May we request others also to kindly poll? We are just touched 100, less than 50% have polled till now.
All right, we will move on. Paucity of the time, Sanjeev. Yeah. All right. So we will. Yeah, that's the poll results we have. EEDI, 55% of you said EEOI, 21% of you said. So in nutshell, all these measures are going to be important as we go through to the decarbonized shipping. Yeah. Thank you. Moving on. Just turn it off. Yeah, we will have a look at the greenhouse gas emission study 4, which IMO produced this study report last month. There are key 4 major points here. 2018 emissions, the carbon intensity is 30% lower than 2008 level. This is predominantly due to achieved by slow steaming and optimized hull and machinery. This is sort of a distorted win for the shipping industry, I would say, and this is a small time gain, low hanging fruit, I would say. And number 2, what is more important is a percentage of ship designated as domestic significantly lower than in 2018. This need to be reviewed upwards. 15% of the vessel deemed domestic, and it is now close to 30%. So what does this will do is more and more national administration will come out with local legislation to drive decarbonization efficiency, which may not be helpful. We need a global legislations. Point number 3, the technical measure is the slow steaming, which is re-emphasized in the point number 1. Point number 4, methane emissions. Methane emissions have grown 150% due to large number of LNG ships delivered and operating in service. Methane, mind you, which is 20 times more damaging than CO2. And IMO will come out with the legislation on methane slip, methane emissions soon, and as well as the black carbon, which is particulate matter and formed due to incomplete combustion of the fuel. And we can black carbon has also increased from 12 to 18% from 2012 to 2018. So we can also see a legislation coming up for black carbon. And so having said that, how do we get to zero emission, zero carbon model? At Lloyd's Register, we continue to work with zero emission vessel to make sure that they're commercially viable, technologically feasible, and safe by 2030. So when we discuss getting to zero carbon industry, that is decarbonization, the challenges we have are threefold. It depends on technology readiness, investment readiness, and community readiness. Maritime readiness for zero carbon vessel is an interplay of all these 3 aspects. To achieve this, we had a collaboration with University Maritime Advisory Services. Lloyd's Register assessed the zero carbon options through these 3 lenses: the technology, investment, and community aspect. For example, the technology readiness for an LNG vessel, LNG as a fuel, very well understood. However, community readiness is short-lived. Why I say this is due to the methane slip, as we just understood from the greenhouse gas emission 4 study. LNG will be viewed favorably probably in the short term. Another one, ammonia fuel vessels will be ready by 2024, for example. Technology is going to be there. The question is that what about the investment and investment readiness? Where can we find ammonia? The vessel cannot be, if the vessel cannot be bunkered at key points around the world, we will have a stranded asset. So the interplay of worldwide infrastructure should not be underestimated. And this slides gives an overview of the candidate fuel. and considered for short, mid, and long term. And natural gas on the first one with carbon capturing system, CCS. We can make hydrogen ammonia from this energy source. From biomass, we can make biomethanol, biodiesel, and bio-LNG. And from renewable electricity, in other words, from solar or wind, and by splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen, we can make e-methanol, e-hydrogen, e-ammonia, and batteries using methanol, e-diesel, e-LNG. These are electric fuel rather. So moving on, looking at equal mix pathways. There is no silver bullet, no clear winner. Which fuel going to be most preferred by the industry is pretty much depend on the ship design, the trading pattern, the bunkering frequencies, etc. So the equal mix pathways or multi-fuel pathways is a mix of fuel derived from all these energy sources which I have described in the previous slide. And on the left-hand side, you can see from 2020 to 2050, it appears that e-fuel produced from electrolysis will have a large share of zero carbon fuel by 2050. It is not like let us use LNG for the time being and let us switch over to ammonia after 10 years, which will incur additional retrofit and expensive modification work. And so think about your strategy. What fuel would be available as we go through? Depend on your trading patterns, you can decide the most competitive fuel. Looking at this zero carbon transition, let's look into three different phases now till 2030, which is the most significant decades. And we would see that full-scale prototype and pilot happening, and fuel machinery configuration developing, and also further development of rules and regulations and policies around it. Say up to 2025, the technical and operational measures we discussed earlier would pretty much be drive the carbon intensity aspect. From 2025, on this first decade, we must see development of low carbon, zero carbon fuel. Lloyd's Register has been always saying that by 2030, we must see the first zero emission vessels, ZEVs, entering into the industry. The 2030s, the second phase, we need to scale up the zero carbon fuel and make sure it is available at various ports around the world, and we will have cheaper renewable electricity through wind and solar available by that time, and we will have good idea of onboard technologies. Most importantly, the fuel, good idea about the fuel price and machinery cost by that time. And in the last phase, up to 2050, we may experience more dramatic fuel switch, meaning originally black may become green, may become blue. Let me explain this. Black is carbon, green is bio, and blue is water, and that is the electric fuel produced from electrolysis. Moving on, technology readiness. And the technology readiness, we look at various alternative fuel options and rank them scale of 1 to 9 based on the fuel evolution, like invention of the fuel, concept validation, prototyping and incubation, the pilot production, and then getting into market. So that's what you can see the technology readiness of various fuel. We have examined technology readiness and their usage in terms of onboard procedures such as bunkering, storage onboard, fuel supply, and propulsion. Safety risk can be mitigated. Technology is not a challenge, but the supply infrastructure going to be a challenge going forward. Investment readiness, and all these fuels are never going to be cheaper, and comparing to the residual fuel or the diesel fuel which is available now. The study we undertook on various ship type reveals that the capex does not only drive your discussion on turning into zero carbon fuel. Ammonia fuel ship would definitely cost more, and your OPEX and fuel cost will drive the competition, your decision rather. in reality, whatever alternative fuel you may consider, you end up paying more. The question how we can incentivize the ship owner, most likely there is going to be carbon tax coming up. Last week, the US announced a draft plan for bringing EU voyages under EU ETS, EU emission trading scheme. That means the ships trading intra-EU is going to pay carbon tax soon, and the industry bodies have not really welcomed this decision so far. The community readiness, the last one, and how does the world, a larger community, sees such fuel? And which one would be the favored fuel over one other. For example, the biofuel is an excellent for decarbonization, but if you take the food industry example, you can see how the NGOs will not support biofuel as a long-term solutions. And development implementation of international policies and regulations are important for this community readiness to make the zero carbon fuel attractive, incentivize.
We are running out of time. Requesting
Yeah,
you.
couple of last slides to conclude. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there is no doubt about how the shipping industry decarbonize closely related how the other energy systems decarbonizes, and there's an implication. There's an implication on this to the maritime industry. Poseidon Principle is a climate-aligned financial initiative set framework for financial institution to assess the ship owners' climate alignment before granting funds, for example. A question coming in your way, and so I would request Kirtan, Captain Chandra, to run the poll, please. Yeah. We'll keep this poll short so that I can cover the rest of the sessions. Let's keep it for 20-25 seconds, possible.
We request all to just press whichever button you want.
All right. Okay, I'll do that. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's a poll result. Yeah.
Quite a varied choice here.
Yeah, quite a varied one. Thank you. Moving on. Up. So in conclusions, I would say that although certain pathways looks more resilient than others from perspective of asset longevity, however, the fuel price will be the main factor. Competitive options in short terms will become uncompetitive in a long term. There are uncertainties, and as the evolution through 2020, 2030, and up to 2050, meaning different zero carbon fuel options are more competitive in different decades, and there are no one options which is most competitive from today to 2050. My last slide. So Lloyd's Register, and we have rolled out a global decarbonization hub in order to provide the maritime industry thought leadership, and we are participating quite a lot of collaborative industry initiatives. Poseidon Principle I mentioned, Global Maritime Forum, GMF is another forum which promote sustainable shipping. And on the right hand side, you can see various partnership projects with MISC and Samsung Heavy Engineering and MAN. We are doing an ammonia fuel Alpha Max project as we speak, and with CMB and ABC. So we are working on a dehydro project, which is a joint venture project. It's a 1 megawatt hydrogen powered dual fuel engine. Merck's, we are working on a biofuel projects, and we are also working on with Methanol Institute to promote methanol as a fuel, and further work with UASC on methanol as fuel, and Hydime, which is an UK funded project to promote hydrogen fuel commercial ferries across UK. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. My apologies for butting in, but it was a very interesting presentation. But as we promised that we'll stick to time, I'll quickly call Captain Bhatia, Secretary of CMMI, to introduce the panel members, and please keep it brief so that we get back on time.
Can you unmute?
Your audio.
Good morning, gentlemen. My privilege to introduce our distinguished panelists. Our first speaker is Mr. Gaurav Agarwal, Head Customer Success Team, Alpha Ori Technologies Private Limited. Mr. Gaurav Agarwal has over 2 decades of industry experience. He has sailed chief engineer on tanker vessels. He has also worked briefly in crewing services at MSC Delhi and also a short stint at FOSMA Noida. Digital transformation in shipping has been his passion and from his sailing days. His first show job was in IT company where he worked on few conventional marine-related software, including ERP solutions. In Alpha Ori, he is pursuing his passion and he is totally focused on digitalization in shipping. Mr. Gaurav Agarwal will talk on why is digitalization important in shipping nowadays. Our second speaker is Captain K.N. Ramesh, Managing Director, Sikal Logistics Limited, India. Captain Ramesh is Master Mariner with over 35 years of unique and diversified experience throughout the spectrum of shipping industry and related businesses. At Sikal, he is managing the leading the entire group activities ranging from end-to-end logistics solution, coal mining activities, supply chain solution, road logistics, port operation, terminal management, dredging, vessel chartering, rail and CFS operations. Before Sikal, he worked as CEO, Chief Operating Officer at Karaikal Port, and before that as Director, MARG SCSCL International, Sri Lanka. He's also served earlier as company head at Trimex International and before that as general manager, Transworld Group. Captain Ramesh will speak briefly on challenges and solutions in coastal and inland shipping, contribution to the nation economy.
Thank you.
Speaker is Captain Rajat Mehta, Group Managing Director of SUNAV Group. Captain Rajat Mehta joined V-Ship as deck cadet in 1995 and rose through the ranks to serve on board chemical and oil tankers. In 2008, he decided to take up a shore assignment with the same company in their newly established office in Chennai. During his services with the company ashore, he held various portfolios from that of port directors, safety and quality director, and technical director. He has led various group-breaking projects like the setup and running of the Ganga Transshipment Project, National Waterways 1. Captain Mehta holds a Master in Law from World Maritime University, Sweden. In 2019, after nearly a quarter of century of service with V-Ship, he helped set up the SUNAV Group, for which he is a Group Managing Director currently. He has been a vocal supporter of mental, physical well-being of seafarers community and actively participating in various forums for the same. Sustaining human elements in shipping, what is the new normal will be his talk today. Over to you, Dev, and to the distinguished speakers.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll quickly ask the first speaker, Mr. Gaurav Agarwal, to please start. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Captain Bhatia, for the introduction. Respected maritime dignitaries and my fellow friends, a very good morning to you all and a very happy World Maritime Day. I will be representing Synergy Group and Alpha Ori Technologies, and I will be talking about digital transformation in shipping and how it can help to achieve sustainable growth and the goals. So with your permission, sir, I would like to share my screen.
Please go ahead.
Is it
Yeah,
visible?
we see your screen now. Yeah, we see your screen.
Okay. Before we get into, just a second. Yeah, before we get into the digital transformation, how it is helping, the question comes, why now? We all have witnessed the transformation on board the ship, not in terms of digitalization, but yes, digitization. We have seen how analog parameters showing in the pressure gauges, temperature gauges, the depth gauge are converting into the sensors, and those sensor hubs are helping the ship staff to monitor remotely through various stations on board the ships, such as bridge, such as cargo control room and engine control room. So what comes next? So in these slides, we will be sailing through from olden days to the current days and then to the future. So as I said, why now? This is possible and enabled by two key forces. Number one, the bandwidth availability on the ship nowadays has increased tremendously, what we have seen 1 or 2 decades before. And it is projected in next 5 years to increase by 5-fold. By 2025, as you all can see, it will be crossing 200 gigabytes, the VSAT capacity. So how we can harness this? We already have various technologies in the world market. We all are aware of these technologies called Internet of Things, big data, machine learning, cloud. But how it is contributing in shipping? That's the question. We have seen this in various other industry, but can it really impact on shipping? Can it really help on sustainable shipping in future? So in olden days, when a ship used to sail, there was no communication with the ship whatsoever. No matter what happens to the ship, we, the shore people, do not know about where the ship is, how the people are doing. There was no communication. But as the technology came, especially in the last century, we can see communication started happening more and more with days. But the full information still used to rest with the shipboard staff. The way managers were getting were, we all know this is ERP solution like PMS or emails or telephonic communication, but that is a very less information as compared to what ship staff have on board. Finally, when it reaches to the owners, it remains minuscule information. So how we can bridge this communication gap? That is the very basic question comes in our mind. Now, when we talk about digitalization, what are the key functionalities of the digitalization? How it can help? Number one, the transparency. As I spoke, if we have the data on board ship in real time flowing to the shore, no matter it is owners or charters or various other stakeholders, if every 30 seconds they are able to see thousands of parameters on board, that is where we call real-time monitoring. It has been happening in other by other players, but not in the integrated manner. Now in digitalization, we are creating the IoT platform, Internet of Things, which is connecting all the systems on board. As I mentioned, engine control room, cargo control room, and the navigational bridge. These reliable data, how it is going to help in mitigating the risk, this is what we are going to see in the next slides. I will be sharing a few use cases. Finally, when we have so much of data, what we are going to do with that? Can we add value to the owners? Can we save cost? Can we increase the productivity? I hear EEOI is one of the important parameters for the ship managers. So is it really going to help there? So let us start with a small case study of the real remote monitoring and diagnostics. On board one of the vessels, we noticed the cut-in, cut-off, the run count of compressors was beyond 100 in one day, which is way too high. and nobody was nobody was noticing it, and it was happening every day till the time we created an alert. And you can see suddenly there was a sharp decline from 107 to 77, and finally 17 to 18 per day, which is a normal scenario. So it was noticed that the pressure cut off pressure, and there were many leakages in the air system. So vessel staff is definitely there, but if we have extra pair of eyes, we can work together with the shore support, and we can mitigate these unwanted running hours. Secondly, more interestingly, if we talk about the IoT platform, we are talking about integrating various equipments of the ship into a single hub, be it GPS. If I'm getting the GPS coordinates from the bridge and I'm connecting my OWS, which is giving me the signal of my three-way valve, along with my PPM and audio-visual alarm. So I have better monitoring of my shipboard equipment. I will be more equipped to monitor the MARPOL compliances. We can also monitor where my existing vessel is, in which zone it is currently situated, and where it is heading to. As you can see in the screen, currently the ship is in the geofencing area number 1, Annex 1 special area, number 2, Annex 5 special area, and then finally the ICA SOX area. It is also having the destination port, so that the vessel staff can already prepare themselves for the upcoming port. And from Felixstowe, she's going to the Rotterdam. Coming to the little bit deeper on the geofencing, how it works. We all are aware of Annex 6, which is covering the air pollution. When we are entering into any Annex 6 area, the digitalization, the IoT platform can help create some auto alerts, such as once the vessel is 100 nautical miles away, or when the vessel commences changing over or completing changing over. After that, it is entering into the ECA area, exiting, and finally changing air back to the high sulfur fuel oil. These automatic alerts are very helpful to monitor and in order to show the authorities that my vessel is complying within the limits. So these IoT platform, various geofencing areas can be mapped as per the IMO regulations, as per the PSC, as per other flag state requirements. We all know what is machine learning, but how it is happening on ship. So this is one small example, as you can see on my screen. We start capturing the data in the real time. So what do we do with the data? We are making our model trained. Every 30 seconds when we are receiving the data, my machine learns what is my normal range, what is my normal parameter. Once there is
sorry to interrupt, 30 seconds, please, if you can wind up, sorry.
Sure, I'll go a little faster. So these machine learning creates the anomaly and give a heads up to the vessel staff well in advance so that bigger catastrophe can be avoided. What is the role of IMO and classification society? Number one, in this pandemic situation, remote ship inspection is the need of the hour. We expect IMO to certify electronically and acknowledge the need of remote ship inspection. Then the data validation, what we are receiving, there has to be a type approval by the classification society. Then it is a very big, we all know the cybersecurity. It again has to be tested for various loopholes and certified by IMO. So these are the loopholes which if we can tap, we can move further in the digitalization. How it can help in growth and the sustainable development goals. One is the fuel efficiency. Big data, yes, it is there for fuel optimization. It will reduce the air pollution. We can design our machinery when we already have the performance predictions. Since we have the data, we can predict how it is performing. Integrated global supply chain. Think of a system when the cargo on board a tanker can be discharged on its own. The vessel staff is taking the decisions based on the data driven, and similarly at the port end, we can integrate then from there to various supply chains, it can be integrated digitally. Then the data driven revenue stream, we have to revamp the logistics and trade and commerce, And as per United Nations Conference for Trade and Development, they have estimated a positive net improvement on the employment. Finally, where we are, is it really possible? Yes, it is. Currently, we have shipboard system integrated and getting all the data for the remote monitoring and diagnostics. IoT platform is already there on board for the operational assistance. Now, the next goal coming in the steps is the vessel operational command control centers. These are to be created, and the shipping managers and for the owners. Then remote control system. And finally, the vision is to have the autonomous shipping. So this is a steps we have to take to make it reality and to make it happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Captain Gaurav. Thank you very much. Next, I'll call Captain Ramesh, Managing Director, Sikal Logistics, for a brief, and my request in advance that if we can keep it short. Thank you. Unmute.
Yeah. Morning, gentlemen. Thanks, Dave. We'll try and be within the time limits. Yeah, on a great day like today, World Maritime Day, wishing you all seafarers a wonderful maritime day and wonderful seas ahead. Well, I'll be talking on challenges and solutions in coastal shipping and inland shipping, with a stress on contribution to the nation's economy. Well, we all know India's economy is a $3 trillion economy. Going up, our vision in the next 5 or 10 years is closer to $5 trillion. And the cost of logistics, I'm not getting into the economy part of it, but the cost, what is staggering here is we all know shipping is just a vital component in the entire logistics chain, supply chain solutions. But quite surprisingly, the logistics cost of India is at a staggering 14% of the GDP. So if you're talking in terms of a $3 trillion economy, you're talking in terms of $420 million is our logistics cost, which has got a direct bearing on the end produce. Now, this is way too high considering the fact that you look at European Union, the logistics cost as against its GDP is 7%. The US logistics cost as against its GDP is 8%. Japan is about 9%. Korea is 13%, probably giving us a run for our money. And we are at a staggering 14%. Now, obviously, something is wrong here because the logistics cost can't be 14%. And this definitely will have a direct bearing on our end produce cost. Now, I'll pull a cue from a famous economist. What he says is, what gravity is to physics, competition is to economy. Unless you have competition, the economy will not get the best results, will not get the best pricing index. So when you talk about competition, you eventually land up with economies of scale. And there's no better movement of cargoes than by coastal shipping. Now, in all this, what's even more staggering is India moves, of all the cargoes that is moving across the length and breadth of our country, 60% of that cargo is moving by road, 31% moves by rail, and just about 9% moves by sea and inland waterways. So, and the produce that moves by inland waterways and by sea, if you look largely across the Indian subcontinent, it's basically fossil fuel, be it coal or be it oil, and a little bit of iron ore going up and down the coast, and nothing else. Now you have a little bit of container shipping, feeder service that's going on, but in the context of the larger logistics supply chain solution, this is hardly anything. So, there's obvious gaps there. Now, the other staggering issue is, we've seen that 60% of our total commodity movement across the length and breadth of the country moves by road. But if you take the entire road network of India, only 2% of them are highways. So obviously there's clogs. You're stumbling upon village roads and city roads and town roads and less of bypasses and stuff like that. So the logistics cost is going to add up in all these. Now shipping gives us the perfect solution for all this. I mean, it's all again economies of scale. You kickstart the inland waterways, move cargoes by inland waterways, move cargoes by the coastal shipping. It's going to bring the cost of the product. End user is going to benefit out of this. Now, how often do we see huge boilers moving from Trichy BHEL all the way across across the east coast and into the northeast of the country? I mean, all these could be consolidated into shipping and moved across the coast. I mean, this gives you a beautiful solution. And coming up to my previous speakers, Mr. Anil Kumar's suggestion of reducing the carbon imprints, which is the order of the day. I mean, what better way to do than to throttle the carbon emissions out at sea and reduce the complete cargo emissions on the road? So I'm not saying bring it down to zero by road, but substantial reduction can be achieved here. Now, the other thing, we became a free country in 1947, but it took us 40 years to constitute an Inland Waterways Board. We had our first Inland Waterways Authority constituted in 1986. So it's grossly underutilized. And, they are doing, I mean, we are slow starters, but eventually we'll get there, and we'll get there in good style. But, we have to pick up our pace and move fast forward. We got about 20,000 kilometers of inland waterways. And just imagine the amount of cargoes that you can move across the inland waterways. The classic example is, the most congested rail junction or rail route. One of the most congested rail routes in India is between Talcher and Mahanadi coalfields to Paradip Port. The rail can take in only about probably about 20 rakes in a day, but today we are moving 26 rakes there. And why? I mean, when the same cargo can be moved across the river Mahanadi from Talcher down to Dhamra and into Paradip by barges, you can carry the same coal that is moving from Talcher into Dhamra, I mean into Paradip by rakes in 3,600 ton parcels in a rake. You could bring in 10,000 ton parcels across the Mahanadi River into Dhamra, and from Dhamra into Paradip, or from exported out of Dhamra. See, these are going to have a huge impact on the cost per metric ton. To give you an idea, moving coal from Talcher to Paradip, which is about 200 kilometers, costs about 670 rupees by per metric ton by the rail. I mean, using rail freight. Whereas if you move the same coal from Paradip to Tuticorin, the cost is only about 350 rupees. So you're talking in terms of, if you break it down to per ton, per kilometer, I mean, it's humongous. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And hence, we have to speeden up the inland waterways movement. And we've done some decent work so far. I mean, National Waterways 1 to 5 has moved about 10 million tons of cargo in the last financial year. This year, obviously, because of the pandemic, there might have been an impact, but how much that is, we'll need to assess at the end of the this financial year. But the other thing which is an impediment for us in the coastal shipping is the complex documentation across all ports. Now, I can pull a leaf out of personal experience. We were the first ones, Sikal was the first ones to start a coastal dedicated service Ro-Ro service from East Coast to West Coast. We used to pick all the Hyundais and Fords, Nissan Renault and what else have you, all those cars from Chennai, and move it all across the peninsula into Kandla and Cochin and Kandla. And on our way back, we would bring back Maruti and a couple of Ford and a couple of other car manufacturers' vehicles back into the East Coast. Now, what's what's funny here is when we moved cars out of Chennai, out of Ennore into the East Coast, the customs documentation was almost non-existent, and rightly so. It should be that way because there's no question of there's no job for a customs officer there. Whereas when we were bringing back cars from the West Coast into East Coast, we had to file, hundreds of documents. We had to file something called the, coastal bill of shipping bill. Now, what is a coastal shipping bill, and why would customs need a coastal shipping bill? Only they can answer. Well, these are, I'm just giving you snippets. I'm just giving you small, anecdotes from what I experienced and where we can iron out all these and bring about a much more efficient mode of transportation and reduce the end cost, and which would have a huge impact on our nation's economy. So that's very, very important. Now, what do we do going forward? Now, what is our vision? I know, Dave, the way you're looking, I think I'm closing in, but yeah, I'm almost there.
Oh, but it is interesting.
So, to achieve what we have to do for coastal shipping, I think we need to have a comprehensive coastal shipping policy, by which I mean it shouldn't be a plain sitting and discussing on coastal shipping for decades on, like what's happening in the National Shipping Board. We are still not able to come up with the Merchant Shipping Act, which is relevant to what's today's shipping. We need to bring this about, very urgently and with a sense of purpose. Developing specific ports and supporting infrastructure in the ports. You create the infrastructure and cargoes will move. The reverse is not. The converse is not true though in shipping. Dedicated coastal and ocean freight corridors. These are very important. And of course, improvements in fiscal regimes, specifically on duty on bunkers. Now, this is an age-old argument. This is an age-old request that the shipping companies of India has been proposing to the government of India, but it's, if I could say, it's been always a case of water off a duck's back. Unfortunately, we're not able to make any progress there, and hopefully going forward, the government will make more sense of all this and, encourage coastal shipping and inland waterways. At the end of all this, I'll be happy to take some questions, but I'll stop it here because of the paucity of time and be a relief to Captain Dev. Thanks.
Thank you very much,
so much,
Captain Ramesh. Thank you very much. My apologies to rush you, but we've committed to the audience that we will close on time. So next, we'll quickly go on to Captain Rajat Mehta, who will be speaking on sustaining the human element in shipping. What's the new normal? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Captain Dev, and good morning, everyone. Thank you to the NMDC committee and the chairman and the Maritime fraternity members for giving me the opportunity to speak here. I have only a couple of slides actually, so I'll go through it quickly so that we can go into the question and answer session. If I can just share my screen with all of you. Just want to start with this.
Rajat, can you speak up a little bit? You're a little low on volume.
Yeah, we have you on screen now.
Can you hear me now?
Better, much better.
I'll just start with a small safety movement. This is what I normally do, and it is to show communication and trust within a team.
And just do an exercise and build a trust between one another. So, Harrison, if you don't mind going first, step up here on this chair and close your eyes. All right, and then everybody fill in. And we're going to ask you to fall, and then they will catch you. So you have to trust us. So on count to 3, just relax and fall. Okay? 1, 2, 3.
So just quickly to, it's a very important aspect today in the human element, the communication. And I just wanted to highlight that with that safety movement. So it has to be clear instructions, what we are going to do. And obviously you have to have the trust of the team. Going forward, this is just a brief introduction of the company. I'll skip this because we are short of time. The human element in the post-COVID atmosphere has, we have seen a lot of campaigns to get our crew members home, get people to sign off, but the governments have been extremely lethargic. They have not done anything to support these seafarers, and this has caused a huge amount of mental fatigue to the seafarer, not because he's on board, but because he doesn't know when he will sign off. And there are people whose family members have been unwell, who have not been able to get home, and on a ship which is at sea, which is not exposed to an infection, and we are not able to sign these people off in a safe bubble. I think this is a huge opportunity for the governments, especially in a country like India, where we can create ports on the east and west coast just for the vessels transiting. It will provide a huge level of employment to the Indian seafarers, and we can push them into in a bubble sort of a thing. Like if we can do this for the IPL, I'm sure we can do this for the seafarers. There are seafarers who are at home and who have not been able to go on the ships. They have high outgoing EMIs. That causes another level of stress. People who have seen their family members lose jobs, who have seen their family members fall ill, and two very important cases during this COVID time, when everybody was talking about, oh, they are the frontline workers and they are essential workers and they are heroes on board the ships. But the case of the Wakashio and the Maersk vessel with the refugee crisis, we were not even able to support them for 38 days. A vessel was standing which had done its humanitarian duty to rescue people from sea and bring them, save them, and then we were not able to help the vessel to get them off. No, none of the governments wanted to help them. For 38 days, in fact, there were four of the refugees who had jumped into the water, for which the crew had to take action to save them. And if something would have happened to one of these refugees, the whole criminalization of the master and trying to blame him for it would have happened. We also see a lot of shore teams going on board. So many people working in and out of the vessels, and when an infection happens, the vessel is held up for months because we can't get the seafarer off. So these are impacts on the mental health of our seafarers on board the vessels. There is also a lot of impact on the shore teams, which unfortunately doesn't get highlighted as much. And I would like to point out here. There are people who are at home who have seen their loved ones lose jobs, who have not been able to make enough money. They are living in small places where there is not enough internet. The constant fear of hanging over their head if the company will call tomorrow with a pink slip and let them go. It's taking a toll on every one of us. It's difficult to be sitting in a small apartment trying to find a corner to work. It's not easy. And I would really thank the chairman, Mr. Sukumaran, had taken a leaf out of my presentation, or he had mentioned it before, which is very kind to mention here is the owners that the shipping, commercial shipping is basically run for profit-making purposes, and we have seen cases of practically extortion for doing crew changes, where $75,000 for an agency charge, or $100,000 on a market where the owner is not finding it enough cargo to sustain his ships. So I think all in all, I will close here quickly so that Dave can breathe a little easy. And if there are any questions, we can take it off during the question and answer session. Thank you very much, and thanks once again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Captain Rajat. Thank you very much. Sorry to rush you. I will now quickly call Captain Krishnamurthy, who will be moderating the interactive panel session. We can take a few questions. Captain Krishnamurthy, over to you.
Thank you, Dev. My apologies to one and all, but I'm still pleased to see that the number of participants are still staying at the same level. So I
yes,
think,
that's true.
yeah. So I think we're doing good. Thank you all. Brilliant speeches by all of you. We are out of time, so I'll have to run through this like a buzzer round with all of you. So without much ado, let me start with.
Can you have the speakers to unmute their video, please?
Yeah, the speakers, please unmute.
And audio.
And yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Speakers and others, everybody is welcome to switch on the video if they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, sir. So surprisingly or not surprisingly, the very first question goes not to the speaker. I hope Mr. Ajit Sukumaran is still here. This is from one Mr. Muthuswamy Ramasamy. Carbon emission is Europe-driven. Where is India? How serious is India about decarbonization, or are there other priorities that compel the government to sort of, I'm not dilute, but how strong are we in supporting this decarbonization business?
We are very much committed to the decarbonization part of that. Every effort is being made from our end. But as you know, when the pollution aspect or the MARPOL implementation comes, we have to take into consideration the concerns of the industry also. Because, of course, the carbon concern is one of our priority area. And we all know that it is necessary for the sustainability, long-term sustainability. But certain other factors also are there to decide on immediate future of how it is going to be implemented. Nevertheless, whatever is the minimum commitment which we have made to IMO will be implemented and is being implemented also. But more than that, at this stage, I don't know how far we will be able to progress on that much. Particularly, we have to take into account our struggling shipping industry due to various reasons.
Oh, yes, yes, indeed. Let me take, thank you, sir, thank you. So let me take this to Anil Kumar now.
Yeah, Captain Krish. Captain Krish, can I add to
sure.
PO? As PO said, DG Shipping is committed for implementing IMO greenhouse gas emission strategy, which DG Shipping is a signatory to that. And I also mentioned in my presentation about the measures, the short-term, mid-term, and long-term measures. The short-term measures requires national administration to draw out a national action plan and submit that to MEPC and IMO. And as I know is that DG Shipping is in that process, and for working towards decarbonization. Thank you.
Anil, I wanted to ask you also, most of this technology that comes in with this decarbonization disrupt existing tonnage. So, I mean, what's the IMO's game plan overall? I know there is a talk of phase out and then again 2030. So it's, I think from the ship owners' point of view, there is a tremendous amount of disruption to business continuity. So how does IMO intend to handle it, do you think?
Yeah, so that's what I had a slide about considering the decarbonization in a phased manner. And that means that the decade what we are involved in now, 2020 to 2030, this decade is most crucial. But then as we speak that from the industry perspective, we don't see much coming up until the first half of this decade. And the operational and technological measures of reducing the carbon intensity measures would continue. And by that time, some of the old fleet will get, for example, phased out. And towards the second half of this decade, and we will have some real work happening on the decarbonization. Yeah. So the ship owners, the existing ship has got a window to phase out. The challenge, Captain Krish, is about the new ships, and the ship owner want to order a ship now in 2020.
Okay.
They need to really think about during a service life, the ship need to switch over to a low or zero carbon fuel. So a lot of thought process has to be put in place while ordering a new ship. Thank you.
Yeah, that can't be easy. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Thanks. So the next question is from Mr. Jamal Mouhiddin. This zero, I mean, it also ties up with, so this question, I guess, maybe Sanjeev Vakil could take this. Are the education institutions ready with zero emissions for ship machinery? That's one aspect. And another question by Captain Subhash Nambiar also says, if complete digitalization of ships day-to-day operation, what about seafaring standards and how do we build competencies to deal with that? So I think Sanjeev first and then maybe Gaurav after that.
As an education institution, I don't think there is anything, especially in the shipping industry. I think I don't think there are much on emission part of it. I think we are all safe, and we do have just a shipping campus where I think could say the gases are there, but that also is not run extensively. So I don't see much on the education institution as on date. Thank you.
Even with SEEMP and EEOI, it's no problem to.
I believe, I think somebody could answer. Probably.
All right.
That,
okay. And
Ajit Sukumaran, probably, I think he unmuted. So, sir, you would like to add on, sir?
Yeah, in fact, these are all regularly a part of our competency examination and the syllabus. It is getting regularly updated. And whatever required for the latest trends are, we are very punctual in getting updated on that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Gaurav, would you like to take a shot at this?
Yeah, I think it should be seen both ways. We have to learn from marine engineering expertise. So it is a collaboration, not a conflict. When we have the marine expertise and once we come to shore, we get a lot of learnings from them, and at the same time the IT professional give their inputs to work in the collaboration. So as far as the training part is concerned, I don't see it will be touched anywhere. It will be day by day, it will be part of the curriculum and gets improved.
Yeah, one more point to add, the new degree program is under the process of consideration. It is a bit of computer science and marine engineering mixed. So we are in the process of finalizing the syllabus. I think maybe in next academic session it may be introduced.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm on that BSc Nautical Science Syllabus Revision Committee, and while we have seen some talk on artificial intelligence and stuff, but so far nothing on carbon positive. So I guess we should take that into consideration before we are through with that. Rajat, handling the most soft of the elements here, of the human element. So you did talk about Wakashio and Maersk ATN, and of course the enormous stress caused to the human element during the COVID crew change period. So what is the pattern here? I mean, is there an issue of sensitivity of the world to the seafaring profession itself? Is there a solution at all for this? Captain Rajat.
I think we missed out on an opportunity here to really build a bridge for the seafarers with the rest of the community, and as the chairman had pointed out, the social connect of the seafarers with the rest of the community and including the owners. So to give you a very small example, we've seen a lot of sort of advertisements or promotions saying, we have done 10,000 crew changes, and there are tickers going on, and there are photographs of the seafarers. These are not needed. Actually, I think what the seafarer basically wants and should get is the respect of the rest of the world, and they need to be treated as the frontline workers that they are everywhere. And once we are able to showcase, and once we are able to do that, I think you know, a lot of this stress will go away. I have mentioned this before in another seminar. I remember that if you compare how a master from a ship and a master of an aircraft are treated, you know, you can see the difference. And to take away a captain, because yes, the Bakashio incident is a big disaster. I totally understand, and there should be a fair investigation to determine the cause. But to take him away and start putting it on the news that he faces up to 60 years jail term is really bad. It doesn't happen in any other profession. You know, this is the issue with how the social media portrays the ships. In fact, there was a very strange video by one of the top social influencers saying, you know, the vessels flagged in flag of convenience, and they are all disasters. Yeah. So yes, we need to change that perception, and that perception has to be changed by making sure that we form a connect between the world and the seafarers. They have to see them as people and respected people. Yeah. That is really important.
To continue, do we have a habit as an industry to look to IMO to flag for solutions to all our problems, or do you think there is a role for, say, the chambers of shipping, intermanager, ITF, ILO? What are these organizations doing? Not coordinating.
They are all looking at each other. Unfortunately, I can share with you. We've had unfortunately one case where somebody needs to sign off on an urgent basis, and we have gone to the embassies, we have gone to ITF, we have gone to everyone, and they are all looking at us. When I'm telling him I'm ready to divert the ship, you tell me a port where you'll be able to get him off.
Yeah, it's a sad story. Yes.
They're looking at us, and they are all talking about, you know, we should stop the ship and we should do this, but there is nobody supporting the seafarer. The governments are talking about you know, the key workers, and we should look after the doctors and the nurses. Yes, they have done a great job, but the seafarers are the people who are moving everything, and they need to really be looked after at this time. They are really stressed, and they don't need the banners for signing off and for anything. That should be a norm for them.
Yeah, you're right. We have missed a bus. We have missed a good opportunity, and often, you know, sometimes a crisis is an opportunity for us to showcase ourselves. But yeah, sad. Hopefully,
but I have a slightly different view on that. See, the entire world, entire spectrum of the society have been going on through this crisis. So it was unprecedented and unexpected. So naturally, being one of the sectors of the society, that kind of impact will be there naturally in seafarers background also. So if you are comparing about the media trial and all other things, so it is perhaps maybe the politician will be more vulnerable to that. Even the film stars are vulnerable to that. When something goes wrong, the media trial is absolutely there, and we have to accept in a world, new world order where these kind of facts are there.
Yeah, true. Well agreed. And thank you, sir. That brings us to Captain Ramesh. Thank you for a very interesting presentation, very crisp and clear, right from the heart. And however, one of the questions or comments by Captain Nandakumar, I think, was that we're seeing this year after year, the same statistics about how underrepresented or how we have not exploited the potential of coastal shipping and even inland waterways. So where are we going finally? Are we going to come next year and next 2-3 years and still worry about this? Or do you see a light at the end of the tunnel, Captain Ramesh, with regard to exploiting the obvious business advantages of the potential in coastal shipping and inland waterways?
Every year we come around and say there is light at the end of the tunnel, but you know, our hopes don't die. You know, this question should ideally be put to the National Shipping Board. They're all as highnesses who are sitting there who should be taking up these, these issues and debating it and recommending it to the Ministry of Shipping. But however, in all these years, I don't see anyone coming up with a constructive plan, telling the government. I mean, most of these panelists, they go about telling what the government wants to listen. That's unfortunately the problem that we face in this country, because the higher-ups there in the ministry don't want to listen to something that is so, for lack of a better word.
There is a song by Simon and Garfunkel, "A man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest."
Exactly. So you sing the same song that they want to listen to. And they're mere mortals too, so we don't need to really sing songs that they want to listen. So, I mean, there are these forums. We got these forums, like the National Shipping Board. They're in the process of coming up with a comprehensive coastal shipping policy. And who's going to create that policy is no idea. Nobody's got a clue about who's going to create that policy. Ideally, there should be people experts from the domain. Domain knowledge is very important for the right solutions to come up or the right ideas to go up to the government. Unfortunately, that doesn't percolate upwards.
True. Thank you. I think we are 20 minutes behind time, in fact, more than that. So I'll wrap up with one last question from Mr. Venkateshwaran Navneet to sort of compress what he's saying is, with the advent of digitalization, is shifting firmly towards from the ship to the shore. What are the implications here, Gaurav? First of all, how can this be implemented? Aren't there some mandatory requirements? Does this need approvals? And then what does it do to the human element? Are the seafarers just going to stare at the machines as they run aground or berth safely? Or how do you see it going forward in the future?
Thank you, sir, for asking this question. I knew this will come, and it is a very important question. Yeah. So I purposefully added one line in my slide, a quote from United Nations Conference for Trade and Development. So the overall net employment will be immensely increased once the digitalization come into play. So it is just the beginning. So as I said, there's a long way to go. I showed you the way for future. So we are still only 2 steps. So 3rd and 4th steps still working. So digitalization should not be seen as taking away the shippie's job. It should rather be seen as new job opportunities, new technology coming in a more safe and more productive manner. Because
new competencies,
new competencies, of course. So many companies are applying change of management so that we can actually train the shore as well as the seafarer staff to adapt the new technologies. So as long as we all know, as long as the moving parts are there on board, jobs are not going anywhere. We have a lot of wear and tear on board, so manned ship has to be there. Even minimum manning requirement is part of SOLAS, so it has to be there. So it should not be seen as a conflict. As I said, it should be seen as a collaboration.
Quick yes and no, or yes or no from you, Gaurav, is, you talked about information flow. Now the digitalization is helping it to flow transparently without obstructions in a very proper format, all the way up the chain, value chain, from the ship's crews to the ship operators, managers, ship owners, and perhaps even the ship charterers. But in actually implementing that, do you see conflicts, turf wars, for example, as to how the information?
Yeah, that's another very good question. I have witnessed conflicts, but it is a short term. Trust me, it is a short term.
Good.
Once the user realizes the value, anywhere when the computer came into the offices, there was a resistance. The management change is always there. There will be resistance, but when people start using and realize the value, they start adapting it, and they make it a part of their day-to-day. Because this is something, think of a chief engineer waking up in the morning and looking at all the parameters, not just watching, looking at the messages, and then he goes for the round. He's already equipped with all the data, so he knows where he has to focus more today.
Yeah.
So
there's
think
a
of
change.
Of course, yeah, there's a change on just one superintendent, the fuel rack being stuck up in one of the generators, sitting in the office, he got a SMS. So there's a lot of value added in that, but it will take time to adopt. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, just to reassure our seafaring community on this ground, these kind of the technological development has always been there, it will be there, and we have to live with it.
and we have to rather we have to absorb that and come out of a new job profile or the work profile toward that. But having said that, the IMO is very clear on that. The IMO is not jumping forward like anything, but they are very restrained and very considered the view on that. Is social, economic, as well as the technical impact of this is being assessed, and then only IMO will come up with the regulatory aspect. As of now, they are only seeing how far the regulatory changes needed. They have not even decided what kind of, which convention, what kind of regulation need to be changed. They are only assessing which all conventions need to be amended, which all regulations may be affected by that. After that only they will start changing it, and you know how long it will take for IMO to take a decision or come up with a new convention. All this kind of thing, it will take time. By that time, we will be prepared for this scenario. That is what I feel Gaurav was telling. And today, what is there? It's a supporting stage for the seafarers. It is making their life more easier and more confident. So we should accept it and we should welcome it.
Yeah, Captain Chris, if I can add something to the discussion. One liner I would say is autonomous ship doesn't mean that it's an unmanned ship. It is an autonomous manned ship. And though class societies, we have been working on digitalization, digitalization rules and regulation governance in place, and we have set up autonomy level all the way up to the highest autonomy level. But then where are we now as an industry? And we don't have really technology to implement that highest level of autonomy. So we would be somewhere in between where, as Gaurav said, we can use those data to optimize the ship operations. Yeah. That's a field where we are going to play.
Yeah, thank you. It's an interesting one. Thank you. And absolutely, the last question, I have one from Captain Sadanand. It's more of an observation for Captain Ramesh. Sir, do you see light at the end of the tunnel now that Major Ports Authority has passed a bill yesterday at Lok Sabha? The port infrastructure now, trust will basically landowners and then professional port management agencies and terminal management agencies will take care. Will that take care of at least part of the issues that you spoke about?
I'd like to know what is in the bill. What is the rationale in certain things that have been passed in the bill? Have the relevant people been taken into confidence? Well, my answer is like everyone else's guess. We don't know what is in that bill. And if everyone knew what is in the bill, at least the major ports authorities knew what is in the bill, they won't be losing so much of cargo to the non-major ports. They're almost non-existent now, except for maybe one port on the East Coast and one port on the West Coast. All other major ports are football fields, like you see in Chennai. So when something is passed, we need to know what is in there that is passed. At least people, from the shipping fraternity, port fraternity should know what is there in the bill. Is it making any sense in the bill? Are concerns addressed? I mean, this is the problem we have. We don't take the community into confidence.
True. That is a sad story. U.S. Coast Guard, on the other hand, with much lesser competence, simply put out a preliminary rule, give it a year, disseminate, collect the feedback with the final ruling, and that is a beautiful document. Sadly, we have not do that yet. But on that somewhat bleak note, but otherwise a very interesting seminar, a bit of technology, human element, business coming together on this very auspicious occasion. Thank you, gentlemen of the panel, for your participation, and I hand over the mic to Dave.
Thank you, Captain Krish. Thank you very much. It has been very interesting. In fact, one of the comments has been that this recording of this has to be sent to the policymakers. So definitely this has been interesting. Now over to Captain Bitta for the vote of thanks, and I'll request him to keep it brief.
How brief do you want it, sir?
He's been doing that all day.
Okay. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Are you able to hear all right, sir, everyone? Okay. But for the special efforts of our chairman and the vice chairman of the celebrations committee, Mr. Ajit Kumar and Mr. Vakil, respectively, this event would not have been successful in such a short spell of time. We are grateful to nearly 270 distinguished participants of all the three associations who have been very kindly been able to find time from their busy schedule to take part in this event. The keynote address by Shri Anil Kumar and the presentations by panel members Shri Gaurav Agarwal, Captain K.N. Ramesh, and Captain Rajat Mehta deserve special accolades for sharing with us the trends, challenges, and the way forward in various segments of the shipping industry. Shri Jayakumar, Captain Dhiren Bhatia, Captain Krishnamurthy, Captain Dev Misra, with key committee members of the IMEI, NI, and the CMMI, needs a special mention who had worked together and made preparations over the last fortnight to ensure there were no loose ends left. We are confident that NI, IMEI, and the CMMI would continue to amalgamate their resources in future also to bring equally interesting events. WMD, which stands for World Maritime Day, has another connotation: wash, mask, and distance, which we should follow to stay safe and stay healthy. With this, I bring the session to a close. A big thank you at the end to all those whose names I have missed out, but whose contributions were equally valuable. Good day, Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
That
you.
is very well said. And one more request for the audience here and all of us here. We will play the national anthem now. Over to you, Kirtan.
विनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा, तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे, गाहे तव जय गाथा, जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Thank you very much, speakers, panelists, chairman of NMDC committee to have organized this event today and given us all a chance, audience members who've made this possible. Thank you very much for being here. It's been very interesting.
Thank you, Dev. Bye-bye all.
Thanks, and
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
They can live, and those who want can 5 minutes chat it out. No problem. Those are not met. The official session is closed. Then those who want can chat it out.
Oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, that